Good morning. And this day, as usual, brings news that are good and a bad. The bad, disgusting news have a silver lining. And what a pleasure it was to know that some of our political leaders have a strong moral fiber. Well, it's like this, that a country having 400,000 population, that's the total population of the country, has 175,000 registered corporations. And these registered corporations are administered by 3 Canadian banks through their 75 subsidiaries. Imagine it. And these companies have directors, among others from Canada. One of the directors happens to be our present finance minister, and their job is money laundering, setting up trust funds, that offshore havens. And the country is Bahamas, the idyllic, sweet, nice country. And the silver lining, before I go to the murky, dark details, is that one of the directors of one of the companies has been a director of that company for 12 years and she never knew about it. And the moment the facts leaked, the moment it came to her knowledge, it is she, Senator Nicole Eaton. She took the very unusual step. And the unusual step was that she approached the ethics commissioner on her own accord and asked the ethics commissioner to investigate her. For the first time, possibly, a politician is asking for an inquiry into her own conduct that has overtones of criminal activity and engagement in money laundering. The finance minister Mourinho, when he took office, resigned from the companies which he had been headed for a number of years. But he has not denied his association. Being a director is no crime, until and unless that crime is in the working of that organization. So, the conduct of Senator Eaton in reporting herself to the ethics commissioner and asking for a transparent inquiry shows that there is still some hope that our politicians may be absolutely condemnable, but some have a strong moral fiber. And Senator Eaton deserves our congratulations for sustaining our hope. And now let's come to the dark aspects. As I said, a population of 400,000 and 175,000 companies in that country. You would imagine that it's not possible. This Bahamas gate comes immediately after Panama gate. Panama was a place where people from all over the world had hidden their money, laundered their money, and Bahamas is closely following that. People blame Switzerland as one of the infamous places for black money, but as I said the other day, there are 7 other places. Now imagine the 3 banks, the 3 Canadian banks of our much wanted, much praised banking system, We always say that the Canadian banking system is the best in the world. And if these three banks are an example of the best in the world, I cannot even imagine what the bad would be. And the three Canadian banks are the famous Royal Bank of Canada, the Scotia Bank, and CIBC. These banks have 75 subsidiaries, and through that they manage the funds of the people who want to invest there. They incorporate the companies. They set up trusts, and thus they help save the ill-gotten wealth and help, in fact, to use a very harsh word but a very apt word, defraud the national exchequer from the funds. It has been estimated that in case these tax havens were not there, Canada would save $8 billion a year. And saving $8 billion a year definitely means that A, you have no deficit, your national debt comes down, and if the governments are intelligent, which I hope they are, your tax burden comes down. It's an all-round benefit. You see, now the point is, fortunately for them and unfortunately for us, the Canadian laws permit this sort of activity. So they are no longer illegal. They might be immoral, but they are not illegal. They might lack the sanction of morality, but legally you cannot discount that. And this legal loophole was provided so that the dear and near ones of the people in power can save on the taxes. Now, if I look at it, imagine it, when I look at it, that Scotia has handled 1,839 companies, RBC has handled 2,000 companies, and CIBC has handled 1,343 companies. What a shame. And look at the further thing, that Panama had 214,000 companies, and it's a much bigger country. But Bahamas has 400,000 population and 175,000 companies. The total monetary sum being transacted is in the process is being worked out. But it is known that the most of the companies do not exist. They are created to transfer the money, to create the trust, and from there the money is whittled away elsewhere. And there is no further transaction at all. They are just a camouflage. They are just a cover for, defrauding the exchequer and the tax system. Now the point arises that if $8 billion can be saved every year, why is the government not taking steps to do it? Now this is a very anomalous situation, that the finance minister himself has been a director on one of the companies that has been involved in setting up trusts and offshore funds. Perfectly legal. Even good people do it. But he is also aware that while good people do it, most of the transactions have a fishy smell, have an aura of illegality, have an aura of evil doing. Then, being conversant with that, what prevents him from bringing in a bill, removing the anomalies from our fiscal system and from our legal system, whereby it becomes impossible to use the tax havens? Remove those parameters from our legal system where you can go and set up your trust funds in tax havens, and at the same time revoke the avoidance of double taxation treaty with these tax havens. If you just revoke those treaties and say no, the question of double taxation avoidance would not be permitted, you have to pay tax wherever you are investing money, then you can be sure people would not go and do that, because they'll prefer to pay money and keep it legal. Here they prefer to pay no money and still be legal. So this anomaly can be easily removed. It's just an act of parliament. Luckily, such an act does not in any way violate the charter. You know, charter is a buzzword and has a sanctimonious aspect. So anything which goes against charter is looked upon with fear, that the courts would not permit it, that the public outcry would be too much. But here, there is no such thing. It can easily be done. So why is it not being done? Does it mean that the people and authority have something to hide and they would not like to take action that might deprive them either today or tomorrow of the facility that they want to close down? Are they keeping their options open so that they or their dear and near ones can avail themselves of this option and save money? If that is so, it is a sad commentary on the social accountability of the politicians. And if that is not so, then the question arises, what hinders them? What prompted Senator Nicole Eaton was her sense of fairness, was a sense of justice and equity, and her strict adherence to the laws of the country, not only the legal laws but the moral laws that sway the humanity. She is an outstanding example of probity, integrity, and honesty. And she's a politician. If she can be so honest, what hinders the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister to take an action that shall save $8 billion to the country? And the next question that arises is, we remember that one of the banks was fined $1 million for assisting in shady deals in real estate. That happened about 3 months back. We discussed that. Now, what hinders the Bank of Canada in supervising these 3 banks who have been proven to be guilty of practices that are legal but are underhand? At least the inquiry that has been launched and the facts that have been revealed shows that about 6,000 non-existing trusts manufactured, I'm saying manufactured, not set up, they were really manufactured to protect the interests of some people and basically to ensure that they do not pay taxes, which in other words, common language, be laundering the funds. Why should the CEOs of these 3 banks not be removed? And why should the boards of these banks not be reconstituted? You know, the plea can be, well, it's the local managers who have done it. But if the CEOs and the boards are not exercising due monitoring, then they are failing in their duty. And the boards are guilty of the acts of omission and commission. CEOs are guilty of dereliction of duty. The first thing I thought would have been to remove these CEOs, to abolish these boards, appoint new CEOs, appoint new boards, so that we are aware that the new brooms sweep clean and bring in the people of known probity. One action would deter other banks from following suit. Now what happens is that if these three big banks can indulge in these underhand practices, what prohibits other banks like TD and National from not following suit? Do we want the much praised, much wanted financial system and the banking system of Canada to become one of a third world country system, which is the promoter of money laundering? Maybe it's beneficial to the banks. The banks earn over $1 billion profit every quarter. I don't grudge them their profit. No. I grudge them their ill-gotten profit. Now the question, the whole episode raises certain questions. First, why and what hinders the government from launching a full-fledged inquiry? What restrains the government and the finance department and the Bank of Canada from sacking these CEOs and reconstituting the boards? What hinders the government from bringing in fresh legislation that removes the anomalies these anomalies in our judicial system, our legal system, and ensure that these tax havens are rendered sterile, unproductive? And what hinders our politicians from following the footsteps of Senator Eaton, who, again, I have never met her. I have never seen her till date. But her action definitely makes me admire her act. This is the stuff the leaders should be. Honest, full of probity, integrity, and a strong moral fiber. Unfortunately, most of our politicians are exactly the opposite of that. They are intellectually bankrupt, morally defunct, dead, ethically sterile, barren, and have the moral strength of a minion or a bat. These are the people who have set up the norms. I wish Eaton was taken up as a model by our other leaders, and the things would be much better. Nevertheless, one fact cannot be denied, and that is that we praise a lot our banking system. It is good. I definitely agree it's good. But it has a lot of loopholes. This episode, this exposure of the banks in Bahamas has shown chinks in the armor of the banking system. It does show the anomalies of our legal system, and it also shows the chinks in the armor of our banking system. Now, every country has two major institutions. First, the legal system, and the other is financial system. The judicial and others are different. They are also equally important. But these two systems, when there are lacuna in them, you can be sure that unscrupulous, people are going to take advantage of those systems. And the persons who will be suffering would be innocent taxpayers like you and me. It is high time our politicians woke up. At least, if nothing else, they have been given a nudge by Senator Eaton. Let them wake up with this nudge and change the legal system and change the banking system so that Panama Gate, Bahama Gate remain gates for players, not for laundering money. I hope and wish it to happen. Whether it happens or not, time would tell. Thank you.